So I'm sitting here with Curtis Huizar of Thrive Mortgage, and we were talking about credit. All right, so Curtis was educating me on how credit scores work, and you were talking about utilization of credit cards. I was talking about how I have credit cards that I've been running a high balance on, and I saw my credit score drop quite a bit. Even though I'm making my payments on time and doing all that, it dropped from 800, and I think I was like up to 809 or something like that.
Right.
And it dropped down to like 730, 720, somewhere in there. And you were saying, go ahead, I'll just let you.
It's because of utilization. So the two factors that consumers have control over with your credit score is about a third of the score approximately is based off of on-time payments. And again, an on-time payment, even if you're after the due date a few days and you have a late fee, that's still not reporting to the credit bureau. Just make sure you get that payment in as quickly as possible, because after 30 days, there's a good chance it's going to be reported. But another aspect, as Greg was speaking about, that we have a really big control over is the utilization of credit. That makes up about another third of the score, and that's only revolving credit. That has nothing to do with installment loans or your mortgage or a car. That's only your credit cards. So your credit cards, let's say you have a $1,000 credit limit on your Citibank credit card, and you have it maxed out, or even over the limit at $1,010 because the interest hit your account before you make the next payment. Your scores are definitely going to take a little bit of a hit. One, you're over the limit, and two, you're maxed out. So the best thing that you can do if you're in that type of scenario with one of your credit cards and you're looking to make a major purchase, such as a house or a car, is turn around and make a large payment to get that balance below optimally 30% or lower of the credit limit that's given you. And once that posts at the credit bureau level, your scores will typically jump up tremendously. Now, if you have several cards and all of them are maxed out, just paying down one of them is not going to probably do a lot of help on the credit score. But if you work on all of them and get all of them down significantly, you will see your scores go up quickly. So that's one thing to focus on. Don't overutilize your cards. And of course, sometimes life makes us have to do that because an emergency pops up with your vehicle, your children, whatnot. That's understandable. Yeah. But be prepared when you're going to make a major purchase. Get those credit card payments down, especially when you're purchasing a car or a house. And on the house, we do look at debt to income ratio, which I know is something that you and I were talking about. Yeah. Paying down balances also assists with your debt to income ratio. A payment on a $1,000 credit card may be $50 a month, but you get it down to $300 or something, then maybe that payment's only $15. You do that on 3 or 4 cards, and now all of a sudden you have an extra $100 available for your housing payment instead of credit cards, which helps you find a little bit nicer house possibly that fits your family's needs.
Very good, very good. So, and the magic number on the credit cards is 30% or less.
Or less. 30% you want to shoot for. If you get it down lower, sometimes you get some more points there. By all means, do so. But try not to have those cards maxed out, because you're definitely, as you had mentioned, as your limits went up, your scores went down.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the one thing I wanted to talk about with Curtis, with the interest rates being, everybody thinks interest rates are really high right now.
Yeah, and I disagree. They're higher than what we've become accustomed to the last few years. But I can tell you, I've been doing this for 20 years. And back in the first decade of the 2000s, the 2007, 8, 9, 10, before the market crash, so 7, 8, 9, we were doing rates around 7 to 8% all day long. People were buying houses and very happy with those rates. And I was hearing people tell me, some older folks that had bought houses in the 80s, oh, this is such a good rate. When I first bought my house in 1981 or whatever, it was at 18% or 15%. Yes. I was like, wow, I hadn't been in mortgage that long, so I wasn't aware rates were that high. But historically, rates over the last 40 years, because of those 80s and other higher levels, have averaged about 8%. So the fact that we're still below around 5.75 to 6.25, maybe a little bit higher depending on the loan program, credit score, your down payment amount, but that's still a decent rate.
Right, I agree. So, I agree. And then the other thing is there are ways to buy it down even lower, and we were talking about that. I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Now the further you get away from the market rate, let's say the market rate, and I'm just talking off of the top of my head based on what I've seen the last few days, maybe 6.25. And you want to get the rate a little bit lower. Well, to do that, you can buy points to get the rate lower. But the further you get away from that 6.25, and we do rates by 1/8 increments here. So we get that 6.18, maybe, for example, it costs you only 0.3 points to get that. But to get to 6.0, instead of it being another quarter of a point or 3/8 of a point, maybe it's a half a point. And the further you get away, the more it's going to cost you. So, and that's a percentage of your loan amount. So if it's half a point to buy your rate down 1/8, and your loan amount's $200,000, well, that's a $1,000 fee to buy down the rate. Now we do have temporary buy downs available as well,
Right.
but on those temporary buy downs, exactly as the first word says, that they're temporary. 2-1 buy down is something very common over the last few months. You'll have your rate 2% lower for the first year and 1% lower for the second year. That gives you an ability to get yourself acclimated to your mortgage, make some savings, eliminate some other expenses in your life, so that when the rate's finally at its fixed rate for the life of the loan, you can afford it, and it's not a burden because you've had those 2 years to get yourself acclimated to what the payment's going to be.
Yeah.
But when you get qualified, you actually get qualified off of the higher rate. You don't get
Right.
qualified off of that 2% discount in the first year. You get qualified at the 6.25. So if you did 2-1 buy down, then first year 4.25, second year 5.25, and there's other buy down programs, but the 2-1 is typically the most common.
Okay, and I can see that being a great thing because, like you said, that just gives people a little more time to get used to that full payment, and like you said,
Right.
that maybe they can pay something off that they've been
Right.
working on getting
Yeah,
paid off.
And I've heard a lot of people, buyers especially over the past year, say that they want to hold off sometimes until rates get lower. And honestly, I don't think that's a good idea, because property values in San Antonio, and I think Texas in general, are going to continue to increase because we have a state that, looking at all the other states in the country, I think is very desirable, that people are looking to move to for employment opportunities and housing opportunities.
Climate.
Yeah, the climate, good weather.
Yeah.
People don't like the cold. They want the warmer weather. You can never put on enough jackets sometimes when it's -10 in Chicago.
Exactly.
But you're in San Antonio, here we are today, a short sleeve shirt, and I'm enjoying the day. It's a beautiful day here in San Antonio.
It is.
So it's just really important that when you're looking at buy downs, that you just talk to your lender. Again, Curtis Huizar, Thrive Mortgage, I'd be happy to run any scenarios for you to let you know what it costs. But you definitely don't want to hold off, because that $300,000 house today in 3 years could be $340,000. And even though the rate might be at 5.25, because now you're financing $40,000 more, I guarantee you that payment's going to be higher. So it's better to take advantage of today's prices on the market and let the equity build for you, the homeowner, and that way in 5-10 years you have $50,000 equity, maybe even more depending on where you're living, and it's your equity, and you're not paying someone else to pay a mortgage by renting. So one thing I've heard people say a lot is, you're always paying a mortgage, whether it's a residential mortgage or a commercial mortgage. If you're renting, someone else probably has a lien against that property. You're paying theirs. Pay your own, build the equity. The average middle class family, home ownership is going to be, the home that you live in is going to be the greatest asset you're ever going to own, more than likely. So, and it can help you get kids through college, help you when you get older with medical expenses and things of that nature with a reverse mortgage. A lot of opportunities to put that equity to work for you throughout our life cycle. Whether you're 25 or 50 or 75, that house is going to be your biggest asset, and it's going to be a valuable tool to help you out with lots of financial things throughout your life.
Absolutely. Equity is so important. I can't, stress that enough. I like to tell people the story of my wife and I. We've been married for 10 years now. We bought our first house when we first got married.
And we got to give his wife a hug. She deserves it. 10 years. Mine's 25. She needs it
That's
too.
awesome. But that first house we bought, we were only in there for a couple of years.
Right.
The house was nice, but my wife didn't really like the neighborhood, so we were only there a couple of years. And in those 2 years, we walked away with about $30,000 more than what we paid.
Right.
And then the next house, we were in that house for about 6 years. And so we came away from that with about $70,000 or $75,000
Right.
worth of equity towards the house that we're in right now.
Right.
Which over the last, we've been in for 2 years at this point, and that one we have about $200,000 in equity.
The last
in
5
that
years
house.
have been tremendous for equity.
Yeah, so it's the value that it's gone up, added to the down payment that we put into it from our last house, added to the payments we've been making over the last, it all adds up.
For sure.
And it just makes a big difference. So if anybody is renting, you're flushing money down.
That's right.
The
You're paying
drain.
$2,000 a month for
money.
rent. You're not building one dime of equity
Yeah.
by doing that.
Yeah. So that's probably the most important thing. So this is why I wanted to talk with Curtis also today, just to try to get these points across to people and let them know what they need to do if you have credit issues, to get your credit kind of straightened out, your debt to income and all that.
Yeah, and even if right now you're just starting to think about the home purchase process, please reach out to us. I promise you, neither one of us are going to be like a snake oil salesman and try to get you to buy something you can't afford today. And if you need a little bit of work, we'll give you a game plan. We'll sit down, we'll let you know you need to do X, Y, and Z, get it taken care of, and whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or a year, we're going to be your family, so to speak, when it comes to the mortgage and real estate world, to help you find the perfect home.
Yeah, and I will make sure that Curtis's contact information is in the description of this video. My contact information is always in the comment section of my videos, so you can contact either of us directly if you're watching this video. And let me also take a minute just to say, please subscribe to my channel. Subscribers mean everything to a YouTube channel. So if you subscribe to the channel and then you hit that bell, then you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. I love to show people the city of San Antonio. I think it's one of the most beautiful cities in America, and there's a ton to do here. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else either. I mean, I've had choices to live other places. I moved here because of the military, and they offered us, because my wife was an officer, they've offered her other cities while we were together, and I said no, I don't want to go anywhere if we can stay here in San Antonio. And so I've been here ever since. That was 30 years ago. It'll be 30 years ago in May. I know, it'll be 30 years ago, but I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. But I do show a lot of the city on my YouTube channel. I will continue to do so. I'm going to be doing Helotes next. That's where my listing's gonna be.
Okay.
And I also had someone that lives out there reach out to me and say, why don't you do a feature of Helotes? So I'm gonna do Helotes. That's the next thing on my list. But I have 49 videos on the channel, and a lot of them are showing different parts of San Antonio. So if people want to go on the channel and see San Antonio, they can go on. My channel is called San Antonio Neighborhood Living, by the way. So I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to say.
And I also have a YouTube, Your Texas Mortgage Expert. Don't have 50 videos yet, but this one will be added soon.
All right. Sounds good, Curtis.
Thanks so much, San Antonio. Have a beautiful day.
All right. That'll be it for now. All right, man.
All right. Thanks.